through the attorney.
He also claimed having no interaction with the police's Feroz Khan or Molefe Fani, but confirmed having met former acting police commissioner Kgomoso Pahlane following Pahlane's exit from the police service.
I'm unable to recall how many times I have met with him. I confirm that I have no business dealings with General Pahlane, nor have I ever asked for any favors.
Meanwhile, Matlala has refused to answer questions about the Medicaid 24 Tswane SAPS contract, citing concerns over implicating himself. The matter is set to go on trial next month. Commissioners have since been debating this with his legal team. Corinda Jagmohan, Eyewitness News, Pretoria.
The high-profile trial of alleged underworld gang boss Nafiz Modak and 14 others has faced more delays today. Proceedings could not go ahead due to the illness of a lawyer representing one of the accused. Prosecutors were set to resume the cross-examination of accused number 4 Tawfiq Brown related to more than 20 charges that he faces. It's the state's case that Brown is the leader of a local gang which Modak used to perform murders. Carlo Peterson reports.
Prosecutor Blaine Lazarus has been questioning Tawfiq Brown about a string of phone calls he made from Paulsmoor Prison in April 2020. The calls made to his wife Kota Brown, accused 3 Ziad Pool and accused 6 Riyad Ghasant, were made before and on the day attorney William Booth was attacked. In a plea bargain with the state, Brown's wife and Ghasant previously admitted to being involved in the shooting. Lazarus was set to resume with cross-examination today. However, Brown's attorney, Inga Jansen, was absent from court.
I received a WhatsApp message this morning at just past 7 from Ms. Jansen. I phoned her thereafter and she just informed me that she's ill, she's in bed, she should be at court tomorrow. I also saw there was an email that was forwarded, I think, to my lord.
Judge Robert Henny adjourned the matter for Jansen to be in court tomorrow. Carlo Peterson, Eyewitness News, Western Cape High Court.
Communities in Mpumalanga have appealed to Parliament to ensure the new Water Services Amendment Bill improves the experience of communities, particularly those with no supply. Parliament's Water and Sanitation's Portfolio Committee is holding public hearings on the bill, which seeks to ban the private buying, selling and trading of water. Amongst the concerns raised by residents at hearings is the growing reliance on water tankers whose supply often does not meet quality standards. Lindsay Dentlinger reports.
With the local government election looming for communities who are battling water shortages, access to the critical resource is sure to influence decision-making at the ballot box. Mpumalanga's significant water supply problems have largely been attributed to infrastructure and delivery failures. Salga Provincial Representative Walter Mngomezulu has claimed that authorities are not acting against those who are illegally tapping into water sources.
Whether it's a mine or it's a farmer or whoever, and I can tell you, we are still going back around December to day zero if that is not attended to.
Meanwhile, AfriForum's district coordinator, Henny Becker, says while the lobby group supports the bill, poor governance is largely to blame for the province's water problems.
We want to stress that giving the minister more power will not solve these problems unless there is also an independent oversight, clear procedural safeguards and genuine accountability in municipalities.
Becker says residents are having to bear the brunt of municipalities' failure to pay Rand Water for bulk supply. Lindsay Dentlinger, Eyewitness News, Parliament.
The Southern African Development Community is pushing for more interconnection between the 16 member states. SADC is currently hosting its ordinary summit at the Nkosi Albert Luthuli Convention Centre in Durban. Today also serves as the official passing of the SADC chairpersonship from Zimbabwe to South Africa. In his opening address, SADC Executive Secretary Elias Mkhosi said the bloc is now entering a phase where it aims to truly establish itself as an economic powerhouse.
In an increasingly interconnected world, no country can realize its full potential in isolation. Our strength lies in working together, trading together, investing together, and building together.
And in Belgium, air reinforcements are set to arrive today to help battle a massive wildfire in a nature reserve. Yesterday, the fire threatened to spill into Germany, but its spread remained limited overnight. Water-bombing helicopters are expected to arrive from Norway, Germany, joining the fleet of aircraft hauling water to hard-to-reach areas. Europe has been swept by weeks of devastating wildfires fueled by dry conditions and a historically hot summer. The hot weather has already contributed to the deaths of thousands of people. France, Greece, Portugal and Spain were also battling major fires at the weekend. Gold is trading at $4,402.82 an ounce. The rand is at 16.16 to the dollar, 21.92 to the pound, 18.76 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $88.44 a barrel.
Heading in and out of the Joburg CBD, we still have slow-moving traffic. This is on the M2 westbound Main Reef Road between the Crown Interchange and Nasrec Road. And also look out for those faulty traffic lights in the Fourways area at Douglasdale and Leslie.
It's a fine afternoon in Gauteng today. Temperatures have peaked at highs of between 23 and 24 degrees. The top story in EWN, alleged crime boss Vusimuzi Matlala has denied interacting with several officials who've been implicated at the Madlanga Commission.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
You're with Relebogile Mabotja.
Live, streaming countrywide
On the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
Eight minutes after 1 o'clock. Welcome 7:02 afternoons with me, Relebogile Mabotja, on this Monday, the 17th of August. I hope you had a beautiful weekend. The sun is proper out, guys. The way the sun is out, you know those things that you put your phone on that hold your phone in the car, the one you stick to the windscreen. I was in my car for 20 minutes and my phone stopped working, where it says iPhone needs to cool down. That's what happened. That's how hot it is. After going through what we did last week, it's a lot. I want to find out from parents, caregivers, also all of you, extracurricular activities. They are so important, yet so many parents cannot afford them. So what are you sacrificing for your children's extracurricular activities? What are the extracurricular activities you wish you could enroll your child in but can't afford to? Maybe it's extra lessons as well. And we want to find out the kind of pressure that it's putting on your household, and if you've had to sacrifice where your child is really good at something or gifted and talented at something, and you end up being like, I cannot afford this anymore, so you pull them out. Share with us and the benefits that you've seen from the different extracurricular activities. Movies and What to Stream. Adelaide Moyeng is with us, who is founder of Movies and Stuff SA. Let us know what you've been watching, what you recommend, or what you think we should give a miss. Our travel feature, we're talking the Garden Route and why it's the world's best road trip right here in South Africa. Daniel Adidwa, founder and CEO of HitTheRoad.today, joins us. Parenting and Parents feature in the second hour. We're talking to Tessa Wyatt, who is an art therapist and grief educator, and we're talking about navigating raising a grieving child and what that can be like. So this is losing your child, losing somebody in their lives, and you having to navigate raising a child that is grieving while you're also possibly grieving. The Naked Scientist comes through after that to answer all of your science-related questions. So get in touch, 011 883 0702, SMS us 31702, tweet at Relebogile M at Radio 702 using the hashtag 702 Afternoons and the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702.
702 Afternoons
With Relebogile Mabotja.
on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
Extracurricular activities. The older, I guess, the kids get, the more expensive it can become. But the younger they are, you want to try and expose them to as much as possible. But it is an extra cost. And in an economy where people are barely managing with school fees, how are you coping with the costs of extracurricular activities? Is it something that you've said, you know what, this is going to have to wait? It is not that important right now because we just need to get the basics right. Or are you a parent who is like, listen, we have this one truly gifted child. We're going to invest everything in that child. The others will maybe sacrifice because we can see tennis is going to be this person's main sport. And for them to go pro, it requires a bit more of us. But also, what have you seen has come out of parents investing in their children's extracurricular activities? And how far do you take it, or how far does it get taken? Extracurricular activities can range from cultural things, your choirs, your vocal groups, your extra art, your ballet, theater, drama classes. There are kids that are playing chess. There are kids that are taking extra classes for coding and tech-related things. There are kids that are taking extra classes in academics because they want a 8th subject, and they go and get that done. So things that are not compulsory. And then, of course, sport is a big one where parents are investing quite a bit of money, because it's not just them playing for the school and being on the first team. Now they're also doing their provincial colors. Now also they are playing for their country. And all these extracurriculars, I think you can see a difference in a child's confidence in certain life skills because of extracurricular activities. And for some, it even goes as far as things like, I don't know, badminton, polo, horse riding, the more, I don't want to say elite, but the more expensive of extracurricular activities, your golfs, the ones that are not just easily found at the school. So you get so many of those categories. I mean, I went to school with somebody who was on the national team, South Africa's national figure skating team. Like, she was representing us. And then it means a parent thought about the fact that, hey, let me take my child to go and learn ice skating or to learn horse riding. But it is also costing a lot of money. What are the wishes that you have for extracurricular for your children? And is it something that you're thinking, you know what, these are things we will see when we have the money? 011 883 0702, the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702.
702 Afternoons
With Relebogile Mabotja.
Let's go to the lines. We have Dambisa from Johannesburg. Hi.
Hi, Lily. How are you?
Good, thanks. And you?
I'm good. I had a bit of a rant on my voice note, so all the more fitting to talk to you directly.
So, what are you experiencing with the topic of extracurricular activities?
So I'm one of those parents who 110% believe in the benefits of extramurals. I've seen it from my own life, but you know what? I find it quite shocking how expensive these schools are. And then a lot of them don't have certain extramurals available to children. So you have to then pay add-ons. But the one thing that I did highlight in my voice message was the exuberant costs for tutoring. So, we expect that our children are supported at school, especially us who maybe send kids to smaller schools where we know that, okay, there's more individual attention. And then we have to fork out a lot of money for tutoring. So that's something I know that we would have to definitely put money aside for, because we currently cannot afford it.
And what are some of the extramurals that you would want for your kids?
So, for example, we made a concerted effort to put my daughter into swimming because swimming was not offered at the school. And you would expect that, it's a life skill. That's something that every child should know how to do. But it was not offered at the school. So we had to look externally and find an external service provider who could give us this and that's something that we sacrifice financially. It's not cheap either.
And when you were selecting schools, was it not a deal breaker for you?
Unfortunately not, because there were all other benefits as well. They're quite strong in terms of the art. She's very creative. They're also strong academically. They have really good pass rates. They're also a private school. That was also something that was important to us. So it was a matter of trade-offs. But I have to be honest, in this economy, it becomes really, really difficult. And when you are then faced with the decision of having to cut as a parent, it almost feels like you're cutting from opportunity, for your child. And that feels like an unfair trade-off.
No, it definitely does indeed. And I think you are fortunate to still be in the position to afford those extramurals.
100%. But I must admit, there was a time when we were living in Cape Town, and we all know the very, very crazy rental prices over there. And I sacrificed not having a car. I sacrificed not being mobile.
For reals?
Yeah, I sacrificed not being mobile so that at least my child was afforded access to extramurals.
Yo. I was not aware it could reach that level, but I'm pretty sure you figured out a way around that, because I completely agree with you. I think swimming is a life skill. It needs to be compulsory for everybody to learn to swim. That is my belief, but I also recognize that we have a massive problem when it comes to our public schools and facilities and those that are equipped to deal with those facilities, because it's not just having now the staff also know how to swim and the relevant people knowing how to swim. It also is the maintenance. So it is part of a much bigger conversation. I have another person who's saying on Facebook, swimming lessons are the ones that we are paying for. And it is something that, in essence, the person is expressing is a non-negotiable, because it is a life skill. 011 883 0702, the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702.
In the last 24 hours, this is what's happened in your world.
Security is on high alerts at the Mabotja Justice College in Pretoria, where alleged crime boss Vusmuzi Matlala is set to appear for testimony in the next hour. Matlala has been subpoenaed to testify over the next 2 days, with his alleged ties to senior SAPS officials expected to come under scrutiny.
A fire truck has been on the premises for the past hour as part of a fire drill. Firefighters were said to have also been clearing strong fumes caused by varnish used to clean the room where the commission sits.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent.
This advert is paid for by the political party concerned.
I love my hometown, but for too long now, I look around and think we deserve better than this. The water goes off for days, the streets are falling apart, and things never get fixed. Look, I'm not asking for anything fancy. I just want basics to work. And I know they can work because I've seen it where the Democratic Alliance is in charge. I want our town to work for all. So in this election, I'm voting DA.
This advert was paid for by the political party concerned.
To walk the talk is to turn words into meaningful actions. And it's what we at 702 are committed to doing every day. We are also committed to following the rules set out by the Broadcasting Complaints Commission's Code of Conduct to give you balanced programming, fair comments, and accurate news. But if we stumble along the way and you feel we are not living up to the code, let us know on comment@702.co.za. And if after that you're still not happy, you can direct your complaint in writing to the Broadcasting Complaints Commission. Email bccsa@nabsa.co.za. For more, visit bccsa.co.za.
AI, global markets, and trillion-dollar companies. The headlines move fast, but what do they really mean for investors and everyday South Africans? This Wednesday, catch 702 Drive with John Perlman in conversation with 91 as we unpack the trends shaping markets, investments, and the future of the global economy. Discover what's driving today's biggest investment conversations. That's a 702 Drive with John Perlman in conversation with 91 this Wednesday on 702.
Your voice.
Your life.
Your afternoon radio.
On 702 Afternoons.
With Relebogile Mabotja.
20 minutes after 1 o'clock, and we talk about extramural activities and the fact that they have an extra cost to them. But in this economy, how are all of you coping? Have you had to release your child from certain extramurals because you couldn't afford them? Are there certain things that your child was gifted and talented at that you really wanted to invest in but can no longer do so? Or like our previous caller, Dambisa, are you a person who was like, well, we had to sacrifice having a car so that our child could have access to these activities? 011 8830702, the WhatsApp line 0727021702. And I have to say, one thing I am so grateful for, guys, when your child goes to a certain school that already has facilities on the property, it just makes life so much easier. So much easier. It's no secret. Yes, I went to a private school in primary school, and the school had a music center. We had netball courts, tennis courts. We had hockey fields. We had, swimming pool. We had squash courts. Not many schools have all of those facilities for there to be extra murals. And we also had extra murals that were just off of the school property, but we would have access to them. So if it's like horse riding, you'd go to the stables or you'd go wherever. 011 8830702, the WhatsApp line 072 702 and 702. And also let us know, what did these extra murals help you with? Because it isn't just about, I'm trying to make my child the next Tiger Woods. Ben in Kensington. Hi, Ben.
Hi there. Thanks for taking my call. I'm going to throw a spanner in the works.
Yes.
With very much respect to that mum that sacrificed the second car, etc., etc. But all the kid needs is a bicycle or a surfboard or maybe some Lego. But hear me out, though. In coastal areas, when I was a kid growing up, we moved from Joburg down there, and I got into surfing, and I would surf all day, every day, as much as I could. I would hitchhike to go surfing as a matriculant. So there was zero admin for my mum and dad to a degree. And I think I've seen like kids from Joburg South arrive at Emerentia, like one bakkie, one gent just taking, for something like 13 kids came out of this bakkie and 13 BMXers. And there's these gangs in Brixton that are on these like souped up bikes. And like that's an extramural where the kids are learning responsibility, leadership, teamwork, and it's outside of the fact that you're having to administer it to a degree. So that just, I thought.
So I mean, I get what you're saying about the bike and all that stuff. If a kid happens, though, to be growing up in an area where maybe it isn't safe, there aren't places for them to ride bikes and be outside. I mean, that is the upbringing we all wish for all kids, like being able to climb trees and whatever else. What could replace that, or what could the alternatives be?
Well, I mean, I think nothing is safe. Kids went on a school outing, the one school, boys' school, and the kid drowned, because it was not properly managed. So I think you have a good point. How do we manage safety? And as Joburg parents, we are super aware of safety. We all have to do it to the best and utmost of our ability. But yes, giving a child a bicycle or something outdoors is not really going to be all that safe in certain areas. But it's another approach to the extramural. Like if they joined a group I hear what the mum was saying also, which is a big burden, is the driving around. There's the slow parenting approach where you actually should do less. And it's often great to have this, like boredom it's actually an asset. Boredom is becoming an asset in a parenting, because kids have to be imaginative then. And
Yes.
you see as kids suddenly create games,
Yes. No, and I'm with you there, and I do think that we were fortunate, Ben, that we did learn how to be bored. We did learn how to use our imagination because we had no choice. And now kids have access to everything, which makes it so tricky. There is a WhatsApp that says, for me, it's horse riding. My son is on the spectrum and the doctors keep recommending horse riding, but the fees are sending me. Karabo, as a dad, What are the extra murals when your little one was a baby that you already planted in your head?
Many, too many. Actually, I think I was gonna spend all my salary if we could manage to cramp them all in. But I'm very privileged. I heard that some parents, like you said, you growing up, you went to a school where they had swimming pools and stuff like that. That I'm sorted with my kid. They've got swimming pools, tennis courts, la 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 la. So he's not interested in some. He's interested in some, so he can deal with it. So outside of school now, I was very intentional of what he wants. He has to do. No discussion about it. So we tried the horse riding, the equestria.
Yes.
I live in Soweto, so I looked at all these possible activities he could do. So we went to the Mafokate's equestria thing. Okay, I saw, hey, it's expensive, this one.
Yes, it is.
We'll breathe a little bit. And then we went to, and then I found a music school, and it's the Morris Isaacson Music Center. Let me get the right word. It's the Morris Isaacson Center of Music. My son has been going through that for the last 4 years. I kid you not, it's the best. It's got the best facilities. And you know how it's
where they're based?
In Morris Isaacson, the school itself.
Oh, yes. Okay,
revolutionary one.
yes.
You know that revolutionary. Yes, they've got a state of the arts, I have to call it that way.
Yes.
Music school. And you know how music lessons are so expensive, private. There you pay. It's as if it's mahala, chief. You know, it's reasonable. You don't pay much. Music lessons can cost plus minus 2,000 a month.
Yes.
I pay that a year.
Oh wow.
Yes. And if I was even more privileged, and if they had those kind of centers, I would love my son to also, because they don't have it at their schools.
Yes.
Maybe other kids, other private schools have it. It's robotics and programming. And coding. If my kid had that at the school, or if I could find a reasonable afternoon activity center where they teach that, nah, I'm there.
So Mukokegi was doing 10 extramurals.
Yes. I'm that kind of dad.
It was swimming, golf, monkey gymnastics, which is like gymnastics for kids.
Okay.
Soccer, piano, music, which are not the same music. They do general learning about music.
Yes.
They had a class called coding, but it's learning how to use a mouse and computers.
Is this all in one school?
Well, some of them are outside.
Yes, okay.
Then he did a musical theater class.
Yes.
Which is singing, dancing, acting,
so many
cabaret.
activities. Poor kid.
And then he was doing karate. And then
I remember Kawamu's cousins came over for a weekend.
Yes.
And then Kawamu had all these activities that he had to attend to.
Yes.
And then his cousins was like, so many activities for a kid.
It is a lot, but the rule was this with the extracurriculars. As many as possible have to be at the school premises because of the up and down. But each and every one cost extra money. Now, because he's getting older and the schedule's getting tighter, it was prioritizing. So swimming is a non-negotiable. He goes twice a week because it's a necessary. No, outside of school.
Okay.
And then the second one is piano. He still does twice a week. And then we now are deciding. He has to go to martial arts. And he's still doing soccer.
He needs to protect himself.
No,
Yes.
wait. At least with soccer, it's a team sport.
Yes, 100%.
And it's kids you're not in school with.
Yes.
And then martial arts of any karate teach you discipline. Okay, let me quickly read this message. One person says, please keep me anonymous. I've worked in that extramural space for many years, and what I've realized is some activities cover critical development aspects that teachers don't, due to their workload, simply don't have time to cover. Programs like Play Ball are invaluable to a child's development, both physically, socially, and emotionally. Economically, those who are offering extramural activities are taking a hammering because we're often seen as lost on the list when it comes to payment. This is from Anonymous, and in brackets they say in the wilderness. Okay. Thanks for the clue. Eugene says, Shalom Relebogile, you either can afford them extramurals or you lose them to the streets when you live kokasi. And that's the fear with all of them. And another person says, I own a swim school and I love what I do, but it's really difficult in this tough economy. We don't have enough clients to keep us running. People need to understand that swimming is by far the only life skill you and your child need. I'm certain other swim schools also agree, and that is from Anonymous. Guys, it is tough in this economy with the extramurals, but where you can, the life skills one. I know it's some of them are nice to have.
You know what? I live in Soweto, and they say it's difficult to get it. But if you make an effort and make it intentional as a parent, there are many centers where your kid can go as an activity in the afternoon or weekends. Make an effort.
Indeed, where you can. It's just after 1:30. Time for your latest Eyewitness News headlines. Good afternoon. What is happening at the Maganga Commission?
Well, Relebogile, a very good afternoon. The Commission is growing frustrated over the refusal by alleged crime boss Vusimuzi Matlala to answer certain questions. Today, Matlala is testifying at the Commission about allegations that he tried to infiltrate law enforcement agencies. But his testimony is currently limited to reading his statement onto the record with no thorough cross-examination taking place. Communities in Mpumalanga have appealed to Parliament to ensure the new Water Services Amendment Bill improves the experience of communities, particularly those with intermittent supply. Parliament's Water and Sanitation Portfolio Committee has been holding public hearings on the bill, which seeks to ban the private buying, selling and trading of water. And President Cyril Ramaphosa says countries in the SADC region cannot achieve their full economic potential without beneficiation of their own mineral resources. Ramaphosa has been addressing the Ordinary Summit of the Southern African Development Community taking place in Durban. Well, those are the headlines. This EWN and more at 2 or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Well, at this stage, not looking too bad on our roads. There's no accidents reported on our highways. However, if you are heading in and out of the Joburg CBD, there's still slow-moving traffic on the M2 westbound as well as Main Reef Road between the Crown Interchange and Nasrec. Also look out for those slow-moving traffic heading towards four-ways N1 southbound approaching Winnie Mandela Drive. Traffic lights still not working, still in four-ways at Leslie and Douglasdale. Also traffic lights out of order. This is in the Edenville area at Morafontein Road and the N3. If you come across any other traffic issues, kindly WhatsApp us on 072 702 1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
702 Movies.
27 minutes to 2 o'clock. Sorry. For some reason. Why when you're here, Adelaide, I can't read the clock? I'm realizing the common denominator is you. This is the second time I can't read the clock.
Do I have an impact? Oh, yeah. You know what? Never mind.
Do I have to answer?
No! Ouch! Ow.
No, you know what it is. So I'll tell you what it is. Generally, at this time, because we go to a spot break or an ad break.
Yeah.
So my tongue is not used to saying 27 minutes. It sounds crazy, but I think that's what it is. Usually it's 24, 25, 20. So now I'm like 20. I suddenly couldn't add. Anyways.
It's Monday.
It's thank you.
It's Monday.
And I'm 40. I told you my thing
and
is
you're just a girl.
And I'm just a girl also. So, what did you... I wanted to tell you that I was trying to watch something new this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And I found myself being made to watch migration again. The birds, the ducks that migrate.
Oh, okay. Because
Yes.
I'm thinking, there's no, I don't know
What's
the
it
movie.
called?
But I'm sure about the documentary.
No,
The
the
actual
animation.
movie. The animation, yeah, migration.
Oh my gosh. Okay, wait. I'm gonna find it. I'm
Well,
gonna find it.
But it's cool that we're talking about migration with the interview that I've actually done. I
Oh,
find
for
this-
real?
Yes, because there's honestly, legitimately.
Yes, okay. It's called Migration. It's a 2023 film.
Yes.
And it's about this family of ducks that the dad is pedantic about them never leaving where they
Wait,
live.
is it the one where the dad is green and the mom is yellow? Yeah. And they've got the two cute...
Yes.
Okay, yeah,
Yes.
Okay, my bad. I'm sorry. I'm thinking documentary.
That's fine.
You know what I mean? But I have, and it is so cute.
The animation,
The one on
migration.
Netflix, right?
Yes,
yes,
it's so
yes,
good.
yes. It is
Guys,
hilarious.
please watch it. Watch it. I was made to watch it for the 7th time, and it's still good.
The dad is so paranoid.
Yes.
My goodness.
We all know somebody like that. So let's kick off with the very first one. And of course, Audible 18830 the WhatsApp line 072 702 and 702 if you want to share recommendations for us to enjoy. Should we start with Lion?
Yes. Speaking of migration, I was actually able to score a lovely interview. Women's Month is the gift that keeps on giving. I was actually able to interview one of the executive producers for this brand new Lion documentary that's exclusively on Nat Geo. And it's actually coming out on the 23rd of August this month. And it'll also be on Disney Plus as well. So that's 2 streaming platforms for people. I'm seeing a trend lately where a lot of this is happening, where you actually have a choice, more than one choice to actually view a lot of your content. But Lion is almost like a real life Lion King, except it's not the live action, the one that
Yes.
other people have reservations about. I'm not sure. But this one is actually a real life a drama that follows the chronicles of a remarkable 4-year journey of a tiny lion cub called Keo and his journey in becoming a king. And when you're watching it, you're thinking, it's really cute. And, I love the message. And it gets so hectic. Like the first episode felt like a soap opera. The jungle is worse than real life. I can bet. The drama that I saw on that first episode was just so good. But essentially, they follow him and it's a lot of beautiful shots. And essentially, this is also the first of its kind. It's very difficult to actually follow a lion all the way through into its adult life. That's how rare of an occasion this is.
Yes.
And it's a 4-part series as well. And I would definitely say you can watch this with family. There's a lot of life lessons. It's been narrated so well. The way they even piece together the storytelling is amazing. Here's a bit of the interview that I have with Faith Musumbi, who's the executive producer of Lion.
What would you want your takeaway to be for anybody who watches this? Like, what's the one profound message you hope that they leave with having watched this phenomenal documentary?
What I hope the audience take away from it is a feeling of loving animals. And yes, lions would be great as a starting point. If they can watch this and just feel just that curiosity has been piqued, where someone will just find themselves in Googling, how is Keo doing now? How is just that interest where there's some action after you finish watching that guides your actions towards wanting to find out more about lions, animals in general, and doing something about it. You only make a change or you do something about anything if you're interested, if you love it. And you can't really love it if you don't get that sense that you know it, right? So if the series can make people feel like you know lions a little bit more, and so you love them a little bit, and you're able to try find out more and do something about it, then I'd say that would make me very happy, and we would have accomplished our goal.
All right, so that one, where and when can we see it?
So it is coming out on the 23rd of August. It will be on Nat Geo. Why am I forgetting the channel name now? Sorry, Nat Geo channel 181, and also Nat Geo Wild, which is channel 182, and it will also be on Disney Plus as well. It was really, really good. I was so clued in. I can't wait to actually watch the rest of it. So I had the privilege of watching the first episode, and it was really, really good, to the point where I watched it without electricity because of last week's chaos.
Yes.
I didn't even feel that I was in the cold, the way I was so
wow, sucked in.
I can't wait. I can't wait to finish it as well. It was really, really good.
Okay, then we've got The End of Oak Street.
Yo, I watched this last week as well. It came out actually on the 14th of August, last week, Friday. And it is a sci-fi mystery thriller, but it's not exactly what you think it is when you're going into it. It's a family who's been thrown into a world of chaos and survival when a cosmic anomaly uproots the suburb the suburban area that they are, staying in with prehistoric creatures. Think Jurassic Park meets Cloverfield. It also begs the question: would you survive if dinosaurs came right now with your family as we speak? So when you're going into
I know I'd survive.
You'd
If
survive.
Dinosaurs. I'm from Limpopo, babes. Ain't no dinosaur got a thing on me. I mean,
when you're watching it, you're thinking, surely it can't be that difficult, guys. They're this big. We just need to hide. I can assure you, it's actually quite difficult. And,
Yes.
there's a lot of aspects that they also have to deal with. Like, imagine you're going through the worst week of your life. And then on top of that, you should also keep your family alive.
Yo.
It's a lot. It's starring Anne Hathaway, who we know from The Odyssey, Devil Wears Prada. I swear this woman is working so hard. My goodness. And she's actually the mother in the family as well. And like I said, there's a lot of things that are happening in there, a lot of dynamics as well, a lot of themes of having to deal with real world problems, but also a hint of sci-fi. There were a lot of screams. There were a lot of, come on, in the theater when we were watching. So that always gives me a good sign that, they got the audiences confused, bewildered, scared. There were a lot of, no. So I wish I could actually bring audio from these cinema screenings. One day I will do it.
Okay, then we've got One Night Only.
Right. So One Night Only is a romantic comedy starring Callum Turner, who's Masters of the Airways. He was on Masters of the Airways. And he's also, I believe he's married. He just got married to Dua Lipa as well. So that's
I saw
extra info. I don't know if people care, but it's it's one of those things. And it's actually a rom-com with a twist. So it's two singles living in New York, searching for love on the one night in the year where premarital action is legal, right? Imagine a world where, relations before marriage is actually against the law, but on this one day of the year, it's allowed. And you literally have that one day to just look for somebody, find them, and be able to do it. But then it actually turns out being a very interesting romantic comedy. The chemistry between the two leads is actually off the charts. It's really, really nice. I've enjoyed it. I don't want to lie. I'm hoping that a lot of people actually go and watch it, because there's nice variety in the cinema as of lately. There's a bit of everything for everybody. So this is definitely one of those films that people should go and look out for.
Okay, we'll be checking out One Night Only, and then we've got Spa Weekend.
Ooh, Spa Weekend is actually coming out this week on Friday. For the ladies, I'm sure you've got a friend of yours who you haven't seen in a while. I would recommend that you go and watch this with them. It's actually about three friends who go on a spa weekend, and again, it descends into chaos. Something that should really have really great intentions ends up being a very hilarious train wreck. Everything that can go wrong does go wrong, and I think I would even say this might be, and I'm hoping, I haven't watched it yet, but from the trailer it looks really good. It's almost reminding me of Bridesmaids and that lovely chemistry that the cast had between themselves, where the jokes were landing, the chemistry is amazing, and it's just a fun-filled film, where there's lots of good comedy, a good cast. It's got Liesl Main, who we all know from Knocked Up and the 40. No, is it? No. I almost said the
No,
wrong
you're
film that
thinking
she's
of,
on.
were you thinking of Katherine Heigl?
Yes,
You're
I was
thinking of
confusing the
Katherine
two.
Heigl.
Yes, yeah, my
Yes.
bad.
She's the
But-
Knocked Up one, yes.
Yes, but she is, I think, there, and she's starring in the film where she advises her about what to do, I believe. But it's a really great cast. Anna Faris is also in there as well. So I'm really looking forward to it, and it's coming out on Friday, 21st of August.
Okay, you had homework. Now, I don't know how far. Look at your face. Don't worry. I need to, I'm reminding you. Ne, Uguti. There's homework between us. There's
Yes,
homeworks between us.
Yes.
And the homeworks we're going to talk about film.
Yes.
Why shooting on film. So I'm reminding you.
Thank you for
For-
the reminder. I've got a really good reason because there's been essentially these past 2 weekends, there's been so many announcements that I'm just trying to keep up with in terms of the projects in Marvel. And I know we're gonna have one episode where I literally break everything down, but this weekend and the weekend before has been a lot of Marvel announcements, a lot of TV series that they're announcing that they're going to do, some answers towards questions like Blade and the drama. Actually, there's a lot going on.
Okay, so we will definitely be checking out the ones that you've shared. Thank you so much. We're back together next week. Follow Adelaide on Movies and Stuff SA.
Clement Maniatella.
Weekday mornings,
9 to 12.
9 to 12.
Does the healing depend also on the apology, for instance? Because there are sometimes people who say, the only way I'm going to heal is if my father says sorry. Is it dependent on that?
To some extent, even more difficult for people who don't even know their fathers. So how do I heal something that I don't even know? But sometimes when we get to hear the circumstances around their absence, sometimes
it helps
some women thinking that they are protecting their children. They may rather not introduce this child to this person. But this child then says, I can rather deal with the pain of knowing this is what he was or this is who he was than not.
Anele Siswana is a clinical psychologist.
Clement Maniatella.
9 to 12 on 702.
You hear that? That's the sound of business execution finally visible. No more chasing people and reports. No more disconnected systems. No more guessing if our business is performing or not. iStratGo connects strategy, people, performance, and day-to-day work into one clear software platform, so leaders can see what's working, what's not, and where to focus. Because when execution is visible, everything runs better. Book a demo on istratgo.com. ISTRATGO.com.
Unleash extraordinary with the all-new Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 8 256 gig from Vodacom. Get it for just 1,549 Rand per month over 36 months on a 4 gig Red Core plan. Plus, receive an in-store accessory voucher up to the value of 1,500 Rand. Enhance your deal at 149 Rand extra per month and get the new Galaxy Watch 9 eSIM. Available in-store and online. T's and C's apply. Further together. Vodacom.
The Money Show.
Weekday evenings at 6.
SAA, the board now placing their acting CEO, Matsela Sashibe, on special leave. They say that's pending the outcome of an internal process.
SAA never fails to disappoint. We held out so much hope for it, given its sort of clean balance, debt-free balance sheet after the whole drama of the business rescue process. And now we're back to the bad old days with rapid revolving doors on CEOs, bad accounting, showing unbelievable figures in the annual reports.
Dr. Guy Leach is an aviation analyst.
The Money Show
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
The Money Show with Stephen Grootes is brought to you by Absa Corporate and Investment Banking. Africa's energy future takes more than ambition. It takes turning plans into projects, opportunity into investment, intent into execution. At Absa Corporate and Investment Banking, we help connect the capital, expertise, and opportunity needed to bring sustainable projects to life across Africa. That's how we're invested in Africa's energy future.
702.
Travel.
12 minutes to 2 o'clock. Our travel feature for today, we talk about the garden route and why it is something you have to experience at least once in your lifetime, whether you're South African or not. 011-883-0702, the WhatsApp line 072-702 and 702. We're joined by the founder and CEO of HitTheRoad.today, Daniel Adidwa. Daniel, welcome. Thank you for coming through.
Thank you, Relebogile.
I have to ask Daniel, what does HitTheRoad.today do? What is the purpose of the platform?
Okay, so Hit the Road Today, our clear focus is just to turn ordinary drives into memorable road trips by showing you awesome accommodations, restaurants, and experiences that meet your criteria along the journey, not just your destination. So,
and what inspired this for you to do this? Because I feel like there are two types of people. The ones that love road trips, that the holiday begins when they get in the car, and then you get the ones who, to them, the holiday starts at the destination.
So,
just hold on. We're going to get your mic on in a second. Yes, you're saying?
I think for me, what inspired us to actually create this platform is I'm a planner. And generally speaking, especially when one takes a bit of time to experience a road trip, I want to take my time.
Yes.
We want to create new memories with the friends, whether it's my partner. And in order to do that, I think it's just awesome to find these places that will make your road trip a lot more memorable. So that's really what sent us on this route, to actually just ensuring that other people can also make their road trips a lot more memorable.
And I'm going to encourage everybody, if you go to hittheroad.today, you'll be able to put in your start location, your destination. If you want to become a supplier, you can, and you'll be able to get more than just a destination holiday. You can get a holiday that starts when you leave the home. Okay, now let's talk garden route, because there's more than one way to go from Gauteng to the Western Cape. Let's talk about garden route and what's so special about it.
So I think the garden route, one can actually spend so much time speaking about it. But I would say one of the recent achievements that the garden route has had is that, according to the Auto Trader UK, it's won the top road trip route in the world. So it beat the likes of Route 66.
Oh, wow.
And and other routes in Spain and Italy. And those three criteria at which they actually measured this. So one was obviously the quality of the roads and the safety. Second was the scenery. So the garden route, you get the ocean, you get forests, you get just very scenic mountains. And then in addition to that, there's also just the perfect driving weather. So throughout the year, a lot of the weather is actually quite good, as opposed to it being like having high winds, misty. So all these contributed to the garden route actually becoming one of the areas that's well recommended in the world to actually just go and experience. So yeah, and aside from that, there's also a plethora of awesome accommodations, restaurants, experiences, markets that can actually make your road trip a lot more awesome.
You mentioned your Route 66. I have to be honest, I still want to get that opportunity to do that whole road trip in the US. And what's nice about what we are talking about, it's not something that would take you like 2 weeks to do. It's what's the ideal number of days that a person should allocate? Because just doing the commute itself, you can turn it into its own separate holiday.
100%. So I would say if you're time strapped, you can actually do it within 7 days. I would land in...
Wait, time strapped?
I'm telling you.
I thought you were going to say, if you're not time strapped, you can do it in 7 days.
I think because one knows so much of what's actually going on inside.
Yes.
And then the awesome things that you're able to do.
Yes.
That's, even for me, 7 days seems like a lot, very time strapped. But then if I was to really be very time strapped, then we can actually do a Friday towards, say, a Sunday. Starting off with landing in PE and then driving down and maybe ending off at George or Mossel Bay if you really want to push it. And I'd say along the way, there's...
Hold on. So are you saying we're going to bypass the driving through Gauteng? You're saying that this is what you would recommend, is don't waste the time. Okay.
100%.
So you land in PE.
In PE.
Yes.
Then now we're taking it from PE, Storms River, Plettenberg Bay, you've got the Knysna, Sedgefield, Wilderness, and then you can end off in George. Now, within those areas, you're able to do whale watching. You're also able to kayak within Storms River. You're also able to do very interesting things like, night tours. So where you're able to just go and observe the sky in Sedgefield. There are also interesting markets, like these very interesting farm to fork markets that actually take place on a weekly basis. So you could be looking at, say, like the Toti's Country Market that takes place in Knysna. In addition to that, the Wild Oat Market in Sedgefield, and also the Otaniqua Market as well. So there's a lot of these interesting gems that happen across the garden route. And even when it comes to places to stay. So if you want to just switch off, there's an interesting place there called Cliffhangers. Those interesting cottages where if you just want to switch off, get lost in the nice forest and observe that, you're able to do that. So there's whether you're looking for a weekend or even just spending around 2 weeks there, you're able to, the garden route is really going to spoil you.
What are the things that you think people miss in terms of potential opportunities when they do the garden route? Because you're saying 7 days, and sometimes I'll hear people do it in 3 days.
So I'd say that it really depends. So if you're traveling with families, or maybe if you're doing a solo trip, I think the key things that you miss are, for me, I'd say subjectively, a lot of the farm to fork restaurants. So because you'd need to take a bit of the detours in order to experience those. And in addition to that, there are also interesting experiences that allow you to learn a bit more about like the Griqua communities. So now if you're looking in, just before we get to Blowkrans Branji, there's an interesting community there called Coldstream. And then there you're able to meet with the chap who's able to get you to meet the local Griqua chiefs. So you're able to learn a bit about the history of the Griqua tribes. And now there's a lot of development going on around the rock art, around just the Griqua, the Griqua community. So they're interesting experiences like that. And in addition to that, I'd even say just nice coffee shops. Like personal favorite is like the Oat Leaf.
Yes.
The Oat Leaf in Niceness. It's a Belvedere coffee shop. Nice little nookie. You just go inside, have great coffee, and then it's not really easy if you don't have insider knowledge. These places are very difficult to find.
The holes in the wall
100%.
that people usually miss out on. So let me ask: do you think that sources like Google are still quite useful if a person is trying to discover all these little hidden gems? I mean, we were speaking quite a lot about hidden gems over the past 2 months, and it's not usually something that even AI would pick 100%. Up as like, okay, this is a must go.
Yeah.
What resources should people be using and trying out outside of, hit the road dot today? But I mean, just to open their minds up to the things that are out there.
So some good sources I'd really recommend a lot more of the local blogs. So let's just say if I was to experience, if I'm looking at experiencing maybe the Gansbaai, I'd look at Gansbaai Tourism's websites, because there they actually take a lot of these local tourism associations do the work to actually go out, source the products that actually haven't gotten the distribution. Hence, they're not discoverable and bookable. So they do a good job in terms of at least just letting you know about them and then being able to contact them. And I'd say maybe Google's just the starting point, but then sometimes there is a struggle in terms of knowing if the places are still open or not.
Yes.
So they needs that. They needs another layer where local tourism organizations or organizations like us who then go and then basically confirm that everything's around, and then take the necessary steps to ensure that they are discoverable and bookable along the route.
Yes.
So there's a plethora of just channels. But if I was doing it for the first time, I'd really look for the local influencers and blogs, and then the local tourism associations.
We've got a voice note on 072 702 1702.
Hi, Relebogile. Hi, 702 listeners. The garden route. Listen, Relebogile, I had the privilege to not only visit but work the garden route from 2017 to 2019. I was working for a pharmaceutical company as a pharmaceutical rep, and I did the garden route every single month for that time period. It was, not only did I get to visit it, I traveled it up and down multiple times. That road is beautiful. The most beautiful road in South Africa for me, and I have toured South Africa. Shah, the way from Rudeport.
Thank you so much for that one, saying that the garden route is so beautiful. In terms of any tips that you would give for that road trip of things to take or pack, what would you say? No one's going to find anywhere. You're only going to realize it when you're on the trip that you needed that thing.
That's an interesting question. So I'd say the last time I did it personally, I think it was a power bank, which I got into a lot of trouble for. So, but I think I'd say if you're going with your
Can
family...
you just come closer to the mic?
If you're going with your family, I would suggest you small things like just ensuring that you can account for the different weather, because sometimes the weather can change, interesting and very rapidly. There are, especially if you're now doing a bit of off-road, I think obviously ensuring that your spare tires and all that are in check. Roadside insurance is very key. I would definitely recommend that, because you're only going to get just broken down and then you don't have assistance. So for me, those are, I'd say, probably the key things, because along the route there's enough petrol stations. There's, there's also a lot of people who are able to come and assist as well.
Daniel, thank you so much for chatting to us. The founder and CEO of hittheroad.today. Head over to the site to check it out. In the next hour, Dr. Chris Smith comes through, so get your science-related questions in. And parenting and parents, we're talking about navigating raising a grieving child. It's 2:00.
This is EWN.
Good afternoon, I'm Bali Dlamini. The Madlanga Commission is growing frustrated over the refusal by alleged crime boss Vusimuzikat Matlala to answer certain questions. Matlala is testifying at the Commission today about allegations that he tried to infiltrate law enforcement agencies, but his testimony is currently limited to reading his statement onto the record with no thorough cross-examination taking place. Alfara Mushwana has more.
Vusimuzikat Matlala has refused to answer questions about his multi-million rand SAPS tender, his loan agreement with businessman Suleiman Karim, and several other issues. Matlala says he does not want to incriminate himself. After evidence leader Matlape Sello pressed Matlala to answer, his lawyer Annelien van der Heever expressed her discontent with the line of questioning.
Please understand it clearly, this is not to interfere with the flow of what we're busy with. But I also have my clients' interest at heart.
But Commissioner says Sibaloyi wasn't impressed.
And I would urge that you allow the witness to answer a factual question. It's a fact. This can only be a factual answer. But what you've just done now is improper. You're answering questions on behalf of a witness, and that's improper.
Matlala will soon submit a more detailed supplementary statement to the Commission. Alpha Ramshwan, Eyewitness News, Pretoria.
Communities in Mpumalanga have appealed to Parliament to ensure the new Water Services Amendment Bill improves the experience of communities, particularly those with intermittent or no supply. Parliament's Water and Sanitation Portfolio Committee is holding public hearings on the bill that seeks to ban the private buying, selling and trading of water. Amongst the concerns raised by residents at hearings is the growing reliance on water tankers whose supply often does not meet quality standards. Lindsay Dentlinger reports.
With the local government election looming for communities who are battling water shortages, access to the critical resource is sure to influence decision-making at the ballot box. Mpumalanga's significant water supply problems have largely been attributed to infrastructure and delivery failures. Salga Provincial Representative Walter Mngomezulu has claimed that authorities are not acting against those who are illegally tapping into water sources.
Whether it's a mine or it's a farmer or whoever, and I can tell you, we are still going back around December to day zero if that is not attended to.
Meanwhile, AfriForum's district coordinator, Henny Becker, says while the lobby group supports the bill, poor governance is largely to blame for the province's water problems.
We want to stress that giving the minister more power will not solve these problems unless there is also an independent oversight, clear procedural safeguards and genuine accountability in municipalities.
Becker says residents are having to bear the brunt of municipalities' failure to pay Rand Water for bulk supply. Lindsay Dentlinger, Eyewitness News, Parliament.
President Cyril Ramaphosa says countries in the SADC region cannot achieve their full economic potential without beneficiation of their own mineral resources. Ramaphosa has been addressing the ordinary summit of the Southern African Development Community in Durban. From today, South Africa will be the new chairperson of SADC. Pretoria has now set itself a target of increasing intra-trade between SADC countries from the current 20% to 50%. Ramaphosa says that cannot be done if countries in the region continue to export their raw minerals without processing them first.
Every raw material exported without beneficiation represents value that has left our shores. Every product imported that could competitively be manufactured here represents jobs that could have been created in our communities.
And in Belgium, air reinforcements are set to arrive today to help battle a massive wildfire in a nature reserve. Yesterday, the fire threatened to spill into Germany, but its spread remained limited overnight. Water-bombing helicopters are expected to arrive from Norway and Germany, joining the fleet of aircraft hauling water to hard-reach areas. Europe has been swept by weeks of devastating wildfires fueled by dry conditions and a historically hot summer. The hot weather has already contributed to the deaths of thousands of people. France, Greece, Portugal and Spain were also battling major fires over the weekend. Gold is trading at $4,402.82 an ounce. The rand is at 16.16 to the dollar, 21.93 to the pound, 18.76 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $88.41 a barrel.
Traveling in and out of the Joburg CBD, there's slow-moving traffic in Amalgam. This is on Main Reef Road as well as the M2 West between the Crown Interchange and Nasrec. Look out for those faulty traffic lights. That's in the Burnham area on Collet and the M1 North.
It's a fine afternoon in Gauteng today. Temperatures have peaked at highs of between 23 and 24 degrees. The top story in EWN, the Malanga Commission is growing frustrated over the refusal by alleged crime boss Vusimuzi Matlala to answer certain questions.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
You're with Relebogile Mabotja
Live, streaming countrywide
on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
Eight minutes after 2 o'clock, the second and final hour of 7:02 afternoons with me, Relebogile Mabotja. We're going to be jumping into our parenting and parents feature as we talk about how do you navigate raising a child that is grieving, and you might also be grieving in that process. And then we'll have Dr. Chris Smith with the Naked Scientist. So get your questions and comments in. 011 883 0702, SMS us 31702, tweet at Relebogile M, at Radio 702 using the hashtag 702 afternoons, and the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702.
Parenting and Parents
on 702.
Parenting and Parents time on 702 afternoons. And we got to this conversation after we heard the expressing of a mother that we all know very well, DJ Zinke, about navigating a child that is grieving. And we thought this is such an important conversation to have, because in the case of a DJ Zinke, where the father of her child is no longer around, and what that requires of a parent, how do you raise a child that is grieving? So yes, you're going to do all the things of telling them that the loved one is no more. You will have the funeral, and then people slowly disappear, and then it is back to normal life. And a grieving child doesn't necessarily mean their parent. It could be a sibling, it could be a cousin, it could be a grandparent, it could be a friend from school. So I'd love to hear from all of you on that. 011 8830702, the WhatsApp line 0727021702. And we're joined by Tessa White, who's an art therapist and a grief educator. Tessa, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon to you, Relebogile, and also all of the listeners.
Tessa, I really cannot even begin to imagine what it is like to have a child lose a parent that now you are raising. But maybe we can start just speaking about grief in general in children. And if you can guide us on the parameters when it comes to age groups, because I would assume they don't all get approached the same. So under 5, there will be something different. I'm assuming, 5 to preteen and all of those things. And maybe you can guide just when a child is at a certain age, what is their understanding of death and to follow the grief that comes with it.
Yes, absolutely. It is very different. The main thing, I suppose, is that we need to remember that all ages grieve and it just looks different. So we need to make sure that we are listening and being available to them and talking to them at all times, naming the name of the person who has died and not shying away from it because of our own pain. Also using direct language is really important, that we don't use euphemisms that are really unhelpful, like the person has passed away or they passed away in their sleep or something like that, because that can lead to new fears in the child and a real misunderstanding about what death is.
Oh.
So that's especially with young children. They may not be able to verbalize at all with their feelings about death or what has happened. They may take it very personally, that they were responsible for the death in some way. They can feel very guilty. And so that's with very young children. It's not concrete for them. Death doesn't seem final. They may believe that the parent or loved one will come back. Whereas when you get to an older child, they have a little bit more understanding, and their behaviors and acting out can look different. So we just need to make sure that what we're looking at with children's grief is we're understanding that it's very different to an adult in grief, and what are the different processes and the things that we need to look out for. Teenagers, they do understand death in a very similar way to how adults understand death, but it's almost a complex one because they're also going through being a teenager.
I want to briefly chat around babies. So in in African cultures, not all families practice this, but I grew up knowing that when a child, when a baby is a certain age or they're quite small, you whisper and tell them in their sleep. Now, what from a psychology or grief perspective should you be telling kids that you would assume that, well, they're too young to understand, or they're too young to even remember that this person was around? Like, what can they do? Is it keeping their photographs? Is it still talking about them? What would you advise for the kids that don't have the language?
Thank you. Yes, I mean, babies are also, they will hold certain memories. It depends whether the grief was particularly traumatic or particularly sudden, whether they were witness to it. So even though a toddler or a baby can't speak, they were still present, they were still there, and they will feel it in their bodies, and it can come out at different stages. Also, children grieve intermittently, so they might be very sad one moment and then playing with their friends another moment. They may be crying one moment and then ask to play a game. So we do have to understand that part of it for them. And that what will happen is that when they have developmental or significant times in their life, they will re-grieve in a way that adults don't. So when they go to big school and there is no daddy to go with them, or when they get married, there's a new re-grieving that happens, these milestones in life that they then realize that they don't have the person with them. But we should always talk in a developmental, appropriate way. That's the most important thing. That what you would say to a child that is 7 is very different to what you would say to a child who's 12.
I was just thinking, when you spoke about maybe the child now going to big school and dad's no longer there, and I was thinking about the fact that we actually also need to touch on the grief that is not necessarily death related, that maybe as adults we underestimate. So, for example, if your child is changing schools, if your child, if you guys are moving house, the other kind of griefs that maybe parents underestimate impacting babies and toddlers.
Absolutely. Grief is not just for death. There are many losses, even a loss of your virginity, of your innocence, moving areas, moving friendship groups, moving schools, all of those things. And it's one of the most important things when we're thinking about children who are in grief because of a death, is that we need to try to keep the same as possible, as much as possible, because otherwise we're giving them almost an additional loss. So, for example, a child whose one parent dies and they need to move to a different area or a different school, suddenly their routine has changed. Or because the parent themselves is grieving, what ends up happening is that they almost lose that parent as well. So that's why it's really important that parents themselves get help. That was one of my big points that I wanted to say to any of the listeners out there, is please make sure that you are well looked after and that you have a good support system, a good circle around your child, that they can also be supported by others and not just you.
I didn't even think about what you at all about what you raised, but it makes complete sense that if, let's say, we're talking about the loss of the other parent and the parents are together, and now the parent that is still around is grieving, and that the child loses both parents because now the grieving parent, let's assume dad passed on, mom is still around. She's now lost her husband, the love of her life, while she also has to raise this child who is grieving while also grieving herself. You are saying that in terms of trying to keep their lives and the structure and the routine the same, and I think that's maybe going to give many parents something to think about with their wills and how they've structured policies and things, because if their entire life is changing, it's just like one thing after another to the child.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah, and in particular, if there's any new relationships that end up coming, or there's financial loss because suddenly you've only got one breadwinner and to move schools because of that, or move in with other family, for example. So we go into something that we call the locus of control, like what can be controlled when everything else feels like it's out of control. Making sure that kids still go to school, that they go to school on time, have their same lunch box, and they, as much as possible, keep things like play dates. Children will want to play. It's their way of expressing and communicating. So we don't want to change things. day be clinging to you and another day be saying they really want to go and play with their friend next door. And letting them grieve at their own pace is very important.
Do you think that sometimes parents project their own grief onto a child? So you're giving the example of let them play, whereas maybe instinctually the parent or the adults will try to be like, everybody needs to be home together grieving, but that little kid, there's certain routine things that maybe should still continue.
Yes, I mean, there's definitely rituals, and sometimes it's dependent on your culture and where you are situated and whether you have a specific religion. And so we do encourage people to follow some of those rituals and traditions, because that's also can be a comfort to the family. But it is important that we realize that children grieve in what they call waves and doses. It's not all of the time. It's not in the same way. And they also will often need more than just talking. So we do want to talk with them. We want to talk to them in a very age appropriate way. We want to make sure that we are talking about the person that died and not just hiding it. Make sure that there's photographs. Some people have a sort of a form of an altar that has a photograph and flowers out. So it depends on the different family, but it is very important that we also give them other outlets. So very young children, like you mentioned, babies earlier, we do want to try to support them through the arts therapies, for example, that art therapy, play therapy, drama therapy. That can be a way that they can then express themselves that is not expected, where they're not expected to talk necessarily, because talking can be very hard for young children and actually even for teenagers. I have a lot of teenagers in my practice where the art helps them to communicate in a way, to trust the process and share what they wouldn't otherwise have done.
There's a WhatsApp that says, without mentioning my name, please, I raised her from 3 months, late 4.5. I requested my parents to bond, which they did. Okay, I'm going to try my best because this message seems like it's coming incomplete, and I'm trying to just make sense of what the person is trying to say. They say, mother passed when she was 6 years old. We seem to be okay. We speak about anything and everything. I need her to open up to both me and my brother. My brother's alive, but not staying with us. So I'm assuming it's the, yeah, it's very, very hard. So to the person who sent this WhatsApp, from what I can gather, there is a child that she is helping raise, and they are grieving and speaking about encouraging the child to talk. Can you maybe just help us with the expectations that are realistic when it comes to what you anticipate seeing? And this can apply to any age group where, people after a death will be like, we haven't seen them crying now, it's a worry. Or you see them inconsolable, it's a worry. What is a realistic thing for parents and caretakers to be doing for kids?
Thank you. It's very important not to push children. They will grieve in their own way and at their own pace. So we also want to make sure that we're not forcing them to talk when they're not ready for it. They have protective instincts for a reason. They are keeping themselves safe, and we want to also help to keep them safe. So we don't want to push too much. There are gentle ways of doing it. So come sit, let's do art together and have, let's draw families. And, what does your family look like? What does my family look like? Let's talk about it. Have you got a story here? Let's look at photos together. Do you remember this? Oh, you might not know because, for example, in that listener who sent the WhatsApp message, she won't have a memory of her parent that is her own, but we can help them to know things about their parent by saying, oh, you might not know, but they loved to sing and had the most beautiful voice. There was this one time, oh my goodness, we laughed so much together about XYZ. So, you're almost giving them stories and memories, and looking at photos of when the person was alive. And keeping the communication open is really important. And there are also some lovely storybooks out there. So for that age in particular, I've also even got it at home. There's a story called The Invisible String by somebody called Patrice Karst. And that one is talking about, what happens in terms of our memories that people can live on for us. And I think that that's one of the important things, is not to sort of brush things under the carpet or forget about them, because it will come back to them, that they'll remember at different times and they'll grieve. And if it's, for example, a mother who has died, Mother's Day will be particularly hard, because all of the schools, they get kids to make Mother's Day cards.
Oh, and
They
obviously,
almost re-grieve.
yes,
Sorry.
and they need to go through all of that again. And I'm sure, what I'm hearing from what you're saying is also for the loved ones around to anticipate that, number one, and this applies to all of us, grieving doesn't have an expiration date. And
Yes.
even if a child lost a parent at 6 months old, they will still miss them, even if they didn't know them.
Yes.
Oof.
Absolutely.
Anonymous
I
on the
agree.
WhatsApp line says, so my son has been staying with his grandmother from the age of 6 months due to work-related matters. So 2 months ago, the grandma passed away. So we had an arrangement that he must come live with me. He's 7 years old now. And whenever we have a conversation, he always compares me to the grandmother or asks about her. Sometimes he's sad, sometimes he's happy. I think he misses her so much. So this is from Anonymous. What advice would you give to Anonymous who, if the grandmother's the one that was raising the child from 6 months, we can assume that the bond is at another level than what it might ordinarily be with distant family members. But that's more somebody that raised the child. What would you advise, Mom?
Yes, so she was the primary caregiver. So in that way, it is the same as when a parent dies, that we need to be particularly cautious of that. And it sounds like now she's also lost the child, has lost their home, because they've
Yes.
now moved to a different home. They might not know the person that they're staying with as well as in those circumstances. And so it's also just about creating spaces to speak about it and to acknowledge their pain and to acknowledge that it's difficult, and create bonding opportunities, because now they need to form a new attachment to you as the new primary caregiver. And that's going to be hard, but things like family dinners and family games and outings, those can really help solidify and give a good foundation for a secure attachment.
One of the words that is standing out to me from the message that she sent was her saying, whenever we have a conversation, he always compares me to the grandma or asks about her. What can we share with Mom to just help guide that? Because Mom, at the same time, is also grieving the loss of her mother and might not want to hear about it all the time. But for the child, maybe part of the healing is to talk about her all the time.
Yes, yeah. And I think being able to listen, even though it's hard, to remember that we are the adults, and that we do need to be there for children. And so to be able to say, I hear you, I know that we do things differently here. How can I support you better? What is it that was it something that Granny used to make? I actually remember when, because she's my mom and we used to make this food together, maybe we can make that together for you, and ask questions. If that comparison is there, it can be very painful for the mom, but it's also to acknowledge that that is their truth and their narrative.
Yes.
Now, when that narrative becomes very repetitive, or we notice other things, for example, a regression, that a child who is using the toilet starts bedwetting, or they start talking in baby language, So this is with young children, but there are alert signs for all of the ages with sleeping problems, eating problems. If they suddenly stop eating, or they stop sleeping as well, or they want to sleep all of the time, that can be a sign also of depression. Self-harming behavior can start very young. We think of it as a teen behavior. We're seeing more and more tweens who have suicide ideation, who are engaging in risk-taking behaviors. It gives them a temporary sense of feeling better. So we just need to be very cautious and keep that communication lines open, even if what she's hearing from the child is it's painful for her to hear that she's being compared. At least the child is talking to her. I think that is a positive sign and should be encouraged.
Oh, I would assume that if a parent is concerned to obviously reach out to all of the possible resources, be it play therapy, a counselor, depending on the age of the child.
Yes, and just make sure that you're going to a registered professional. Ask them whether they have experience working with children, but specifically if they have experience working with grief. I am a specialist, I'm a grief educator, but there's lots of people that are not as familiar with it. And you just need to make sure that you're going to somebody who's actually going to help rather than hinder the child in their healing. Making sure that they understand the developmental differences is very important.
Tessa, thank you so much for coming to chat to us today in our parenting feature. To every single parent or caregiver that is looking after a child that is grieving, please use the resources around you, especially if you yourself are grieving too and need to give yourself the space to do so. Death can be highly, highly traumatic. Can you imagine what it can be for a small child that doesn't even have the language to articulate or ask questions? So please do use the resources that are available to you. It's just after 2:30. Time for your latest Eyewitness News headlines. Good afternoon.
Thanks, Relebogile. Good afternoon. The Madlanga Commission is growing frustrated over the refusal by alleged crime boss Vusimo Matala to answer certain questions today. Matala is testifying at the Commission about allegations that he tried to infiltrate law enforcement agencies. But his testimony is currently limited to reading his statement onto the record, with no thorough cross-examination taking place. Anti-illegal migration group March and March is demonstrating in Durban today near the venue where the SADC summit is taking place. The group says the demonstration is targeted at some of the SADC leaders, which it blames for what it calls South Africa's illegal migration crisis. And in Pakistan, 258 foreign nationals have been arrested during a raid at an alleged scam call center in the capital Islamabad. Those detained include 170 people from Vietnam, as well as nationals from Malaysia, as well as other Asian countries. Well, those are the headlines. This EWN and more at 3 or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Well, at this stage, traveling in and out of the Joburg CBD, there's slow-moving traffic in Amalgam. That's on the M2 West Main Reef Road between Nasrec Road and the Crown Interchange. There's also faulty traffic lights still. That's in the Edenville area at Morafontein Road and Van Riebeek. Otherwise, the rest of 702 line not looking too bad. No serious accidents have been reported on our highways. Otherwise, if you come across any other traffic issues, kindly WhatsApp us on 072-702-1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Academy of Sound Engineering invites you to their open day on Saturday, the 5th of September. From creative conception and technical execution to the business profitability of entertainment, you'll get to explore ultimate entertainment education. So join Academy of Sound Engineering at 82 Richmond Avenue in Auckland Park from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Saturday, the 5th of September. For more info, go to ase.co.za or email info@ase.co.za. Academy of Sound Engineering, Ultimate Entertainment Education.
Day 42 in my new kitchen. I'm currently staring at the seamless handle profiles and integrated LED lighting of this masterpiece of modern architecture. My husband thinks I'm making a sandwich, but I'm just running my hands along the porcelain countertops for the 10th time today. I've even started speaking exclusively in a British accent to match the opulence. For a bespoke culinary space, visit Moremi Kitchens today at moremikitchens.co.za.
The Festival of Motoring, powered by Westbank, returns to the Kyalami Grand Prix circuit from 28th to 30 August. Experience thrilling track drives, supercars, drifting, 4x4 adventures, and the very latest in automotive innovation. Book your tickets now on Howler. The Festival of Motoring, where legacy meets innovation.
There's so much health information out there, but how do you know what to trust? Catch the Clement Manyatela show tomorrow from 9 a.m. for Health Matters by Cipla Africa. We will be unpacking important health conversations designed to help you better understand your body and well-being. Health Matters by Cipla Africa is a trusted hub bringing you expert-led health conversations you can trust. Then head to the Prime Media Plus app or primemediaplus.com, scroll to Prime Media Highlights and watch the latest Health Matters video featuring leading experts and thought-provoking conversations, or WhatsApp the keyword health to 072 702 and 702, and we will send you the link to the content.
Coming up
on 702 Drive.
702 Drive is coming up from 3 to 6 p.m. Thabo Sholema will be standing in for John Perlman. Happy Monday, Thabo.
Hey, happy Monday, Lebo. I hope you're good.
I'm so well, hey, Kishapo, and I know you are free.
Your eyes are not saying that, but that's
no,
a story for another day.
I just put eye drops in. It looks like, does it look like I'm crying?
I'll believe you. I'll believe you.
Does it look like I'm crying?
Yeah, I'm like, what's up? What happened before I walked in? Did you and Abel have an argument?
No,
while crying?
I was expecting to see John, and then I saw you, then I cried.
Touche. I'll give it to you.
John.
I'll give it to you.
So what's coming up on your show today?
Lebo, you'd know that a number of South Africans have always said that we settled and we compromised too much when coming to apartheid. 48 hours before we voted for the first time in 1994, the then President F.W. de Klerk went to his cabinet to tell them that the ANC, led by Nelson Mandela, were okay with giving indemnity to white people who committed political crimes during apartheid. And this is extremely significant because this document has just been declassified. And now we get to know the minutes of that last cabinet meeting.
Yeah.
So we will be discussing that on the show. You know the issues of Mandela being a sellout, this, that, and the other, the narrative that has been brewing for so long. But this, I think, puts some bit of facts to the meat, as it would be said. So we'll be touching on that on the show. Kat Matlala, appearing before the Madlanga Commission, will also have a word on that. The SADC leaders are meeting currently. We want to know what they have to say, especially on the backdrop of South Africa being on the back foot regarding migration issues and so on. So we will be looking at that. E-hailing services. We have now seen various cases of reported e-hailing drivers who are saying that they were robbed, they were hijacked. It looks like it's on a high. We want to determine why. 44 years ago, CDs. The first CD was produced, and we'd obviously have some fun with that. Which is the very first CD that you owned in your life?
I know the first one I owned.
Please tell me.
It was the Fugees.
Really?
But I didn't need to own a lot of CDs because my parents were into music.
Yeah.
So there was always Whitney, Luther, so they were already there.
Yeah.
But my first
yours
one,
personal.
me. CD, me.
Lauren Hill,
it was the Fugees, yeah. So my friend bought it for me for my birthday in primary school. And I just remember being so happy. And can you believe I don't have a single CD now? I'm trying to
really?
I'm trying to go
Not
back
even
to,
one?
No, I'm trying to go back to analog because I get it, they're charging us to rent everything, including our bodies. We're going to be paying subscription fees for our bodies. Yeah. our Bories. All right, guys, 702 Drive, not with John Perlman, Tabo standing in, coming up from 3 to 6 p.m.
The course is ready. The players are set. Watch as they step up to the tee and go for glory. From booming drives to crucial putts, birdies, eagles, and hole-in-ones, every shot could change the game. The tension is rising with every swing as the world's best battle it out. Explore an exciting selection of golf offerings with Hollywood bets and back your favorites on the fairway. Bet now.
T's and C's apply. Hollywood Sportsbook is a licensed betting operator. No persons under the age of 18 years are permitted to gamble. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counseling line 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp HELP to 076 675 0710.
Running a truck fleet business in this economy is tough. Fuel, maintenance, staff, the costs never stop. That's why I switched to My Way Business Insurance. Now I save up to 20% on my insurance premiums every month. These savings go a long way to keeping my fleet on the move.
Switch to My Way Business Insurance and save up to 20% on your trucks and buses. Real businesses, real savings. Call us on 0860 646464 for a quote today. My Way is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. Standard rates and T's and C's apply.
You made your mark on Election Day. But what happens after the votes are counted? This week, catch the Clement Manyatela Show in conversation with the South African Local Government Association on 702. Tune in as we unpack how local democracy works, what you can expect from your ward councillor, and how every resident can play a meaningful role in shaping their community. Democracy lives here. Make your voice count beyond the ballot box. The Clement Manyatela Show in conversation with Salga, inspiring service delivery. This week on 702.
702.
The Naked Scientist.
19 minutes to 3 o'clock, and we are just struggling to get hold of Dr. Chris Smith, but get your science-related questions in to us on 072 702 1702, and we will direct them to Dr. Chris Smith, and we do save some of your messages. So if we don't get to you, we will make sure that we will include you. So what we'll do is take a break, and when we come back, hopefully we have Dr. Chris Smith.
Your voice.
Your life.
Your afternoon radio.
On 702 Afternoons.
With Relebogile Mabotja.
Everyone has their first, that life-changing moment when the music spoke to your soul and you both listened. With global icons Kamasi Washington, Angelique Kidjo, Themba Mkhize and Africa Mkhize, Ibrahim Malouf, Flowetree, Manana, Internet Ati, and over 40 world-class acts. This is Jazz Reignited, the Standard Bank Joy of Jazz, 25th and 26th September. Buy your weekend pass now via Ticketmaster.
So the other day I get this call from an insurance company. The lady asked me if I'm comfortable with my excess. I said, excess? Well, according to my therapist, I'm apparently a little too comfortable. But sometimes you just need to make sure. You know what I mean? She just put down the phone. I don't get it.
Don't get that insurance. Get Pineapple. It's easy to get and online. Pineapple FSP 48650 is underwritten by Omart Insure Limited, a licensed non-life insurer and authorized FSP. T's and C's apply.
702.
The Naked Scientist.
18 minutes to 3 o'clock, and we take your calls with your science-related questions. 011 883 0702, the WhatsApp line 072 7021 702. Happy Monday, Dr. Chris. Hi, Dr. Chris. Dr. Chris. Okay, we seem to be really having a challenge here with getting Dr. Chris on the line. Dr. Chris, hello?
Yeah, I'm talking to you.
Oh, there we
Can you
go.
hear me?
There we go. We've got you now, Doctor. Happy Monday.
Yeah, happy Monday.
All right, let's jump into the first question. Hi, Dr. Chris and Relebogile. If a domestic dog was raised and wild dogs and vice versa. So I think what they're trying to say is if you raised a wild dog and put a domestic dog out in the wild, would those respective creatures adapt to the environment and would their behavior risk their well-being among natives? This is from Kholla in Ekurhuleni.
Well, these animals are incredibly adaptable and they're incredibly successful, and they will thrive and flourish in many different environments and circumstances. But there's also enormous contribution of genetics to behavior. And we know this because people have done studies on a range of different species over the years, looking at how genes contribute to behavior. And certainly among foxes, which are members of the same family of animals as dogs, there's a really strong breeding and genetic component to behavior. And you can select for animals that are more sociable. You can select for animals that seem to be more fearful, animals that are more aggressive. And we have selected for particular behavior traits in domestic dogs that make them very good companions for us and very reliant on us in many respects, and we on them. So if you just put domestically bred dogs with that pattern of genes back into the wild, they would probably do quite well, but they would certainly hang on to some of those traits, and that might cause problems with them if they come in competition with other wild animals that are not bred in the same way, and vice versa. If you went and domesticated a wolf, for example, while that's not a domestic dog, it's very, very closely related to a dog. In fact, they're probably the direct ancestors of domestic dogs. They would certainly not make great pets. And in the same way that other animals, some of them are good for domestication, others definitely aren't. So really it comes down to a mixture of how the animal is brought up, but breeding does play a really important role. So nurture and nature have their contributions here. So I don't think it's as straightforward as saying a dog would just fit straight back into nature, or nature would fit straight into your living room, but there would certainly be some elements that would go both ways.
On that note, with what you're saying about the dogs, I'm so curious, Dr. Chris. I saw, I don't know what country it was, but I think it was a woman that was preparing a meal that is a delicacy where she's from, and dog was part of the meal. And people were having an argument to say, what is the difference, like biologically, between eating a sheep and eating a dog? And I was curious if, from a scientific perspective, outside of conditioning and our relationships with dogs, that shows a difference between eating a dog and eating a sheep.
Well, not very much. And there have been some populations on Earth that have eaten humans. Meat is meat. It's muscle. And there's not much biochemical difference between the muscle of one animal and the muscle of another. There's a bit, but not a huge amount, which is why we do eat the broad repertoire of meats that we eat. And they have slightly different characteristics. Certain animals do a lot more standing around, therefore they have more red meat. Other animals do a lot more lazing around, so they have more white meat. Humans are somewhere between the two. So our meat doesn't taste much different to another animal's meat. And it's really the social overlay. Do we want to eat something that we're friends with? And dogs are our friends. Other humans are our friends, so we socially tend to not eat either of those, but other animals that we regard as food, we are more comfortable eating. But if you make one of those animals your pet, you are much less comfortable eating them, which is why farmers tend to be very strict about this, and they know that their animals are their livelihood. They are not part of the family, because otherwise it does make sending them off to the slaughterhouse even harder than it already is for them.
Okay. I think that makes sense. But of course, it was very tough for people to understand, because I also was like, I don't think I would eat dog, but I'm open and curious to hearing about what the actual difference is outside of the fact that we made them family members. But that makes total sense. Another message says, does the dung beetle actually think or know where it's going when it's pushing the dung? Because when distracted, it will head or change to another direction, unlike the ants that carry their food to the same place. Is the question then, well, I don't know if this other part is a second question. Okay, no, it's a second question. Go ahead, doctor.
Well, I was going to say that in both cases, those animals navigate, and dung beetles navigate using stars. And we know this because people have actually studied dung beetles using stars as directional compasses. So they align their direction of movement to particular configurations of stars, which are light sources. So they're using the light. Ants can also rely on light and position of the sun, but they also use other cues. Ants use smell, and they lay down scent trails, which they know the direction of the trail, and they also make branches in the scent trail, so they know, almost like arrowheads, that the scent is going to or from their nest. And as well as having quite good vision and remembering landmarks, ants also incredibly count their steps. So they know how far it is that they've walked because they are counting. And scientists know that because they actually reduced the length of an ant's legs and also did experiments to put ants on stilts to increase the length of ants' legs. And the ants either undershot or overshot the journey back to their nests when they were removed from having access to those other guidance cues. So all these insects are actually integrating a whole host of different information to find their way around. And in the case of dung beetles, it's stars. In the case of ants, a number of different cues, including counting their steps. But when they're frightened, obviously, avoiding the danger takes precedence. So they'll run wherever they can to try to get away from where they think the source of the danger is. And then they'll seek to re-establish where they are and then begin navigating back home again or where they wanted to go.
Oh, thank you so much for that question, Patrick in Uttridgeville. Another question says, why is the scent from flowers stronger in the evening?
It depends. Not all flowers fit the bill. Some do have scents that are stronger at night. Others have scents that are stronger during the day. The reason that flowers make perfumes is to attract pollinators. And pollinators aren't just bees. Insects that are attracted to flowers, often rewarded with a nectar sugary meal for their trouble, will help to take pollen from one flower and put it into another, which helps the plant to breed. Well, an enormous amount of pollination is actually done by nocturnal insects, including moths and night-active moths. They follow a range of different cues, but smell can be very important. And so many of these creatures will follow smells at night because the benefit of colour is going to be removed because at night there's much less light around, so colour doesn't matter so much. So perfume can become very important, hence the need to have a strong scent if you are a night opening flower that's relying on night pollination like this.
Okay. Hi, Relebogile Doctor. I am 56 years old and have a frustrating phenomenon I have to deal with. Over the last few years, having been right-handed dominant all my life, my aging body has decided to switch to my left hand more and more for everyday tasks. It has surprised me the most, with the most irritating one being that even though I have no idea at all of how it happens, I keep putting my car and house keys into my left-hand pockets, leading to my own clumsiness when I reach for them on the right side, then having to cuss and begrudgingly look for them on my left, where they inevitably nowadays are. I also changed to brushing my hair with my left hand, as well as a few other daily tasks. Is this normal, and how can it be explained?
Well, it's normal in the respect that humans are incredibly adaptable and we're really good at learning things, and we learn and optimize things through practice. And the more you do something, the better you get at doing it. Now, if it turns out just through the aging process that part of your body is working a little bit better than another part of your body, then we tend to rely on the better part of our body to take over from the less good thing. For instance, we have one eye, which tends to be our dominant eye, and we tend to use that in precedence to the other eye for focusing. But if that eye is weakened or lost, you quite quickly shift your attention to the other eye so that you rely more heavily on this one. A good example of this is if you're short-sighted more in one eye than the other, even if it's not the eye that you would normally rely on as your dominant eye, that is the weaker one, you will switch over to the opposite eye and use that in precedence. Same with handedness. So as we get older, say your right arm becomes stiff or the muscles become a bit weaker or you develop some joint disease there and it's not as easy to use that arm, you will begin to transfer more rely more heavily on the opposite arm, the opposite hands, the opposite digits in order to because it's more comfortable, it's easier, whatever the reason. And you'll therefore find yourself practicing using that particular arm. And as a result, you'll become better at doing it. Now, why that might be happening in the first place is another question entirely, and there's a whole range of reasons why that could be happening. One of them is it's just part of the aging process for you. The other is that there could be something that's changed in the brain. As we get older, certain parts of the brain do deteriorate faster than others, and it might be that the side of the brain that's coordinating movement down the right-hand side is slightly weaker now than the left-hand controlling side of the brain, on the right side of your brain actually, which controls your left side. And that might be causing you to shift your attention over to, or shift your reliance on, the opposite side of your body more. So there's a range of different reasons. If this is changed all of a sudden, this probably should be investigated, because things that suddenly change in an abrupt way, like a flight of stairs with a sudden deterioration and then a period of stability, there could be something going on under that that needs looking at. But if this is just natural, part of the aging process, everyone finds things change a little bit as they get older, then it's probably nothing to worry about.
All right, so nothing to worry about, but that is absolutely fascinating. Hi, Dr. Chris Smith. I have a conundrum. I fill up my tires before a journey when it's cool morning or evening, load the car, tire pressure does not increase or decrease with load. Where does the weight go to if not to the tires?
Well, the answer is that the weight in the car is transferred through the tires. It's pressing down on the tires. But the thing is, the amount that you're loading into the car is probably not making a huge amount of difference given how high the tire pressure is already. And the tires therefore won't show a demonstrable increase in pressure. Drive the car for a while, warm the tires up, and if they don't stretch, then they'll certainly heat the gas up inside, and that will increase the pressure. But I would argue probably the amount of load in the car that you're adding compared to the weight of the car that's already on the tires is probably a smaller amount, and therefore the measurable difference in tire pressure is probably quite low.
Hi, while many underscore the monthly moon cycle, female monthly cycle is defined by the moon. They may said it as a statement, but I'm going to change it to female monthly cycle is defined by the moon, Dr. Chris?
Well, the word for the menstrual cycle is menses, and this comes from the language, the alternative way of saying moon, and the moon cycle. But actually, it's a bit of a coincidence. The moon takes about 28 days to complete one lap of the Earth, because although the Earth turns inside the moon's orbit, the moon is also going in a giant circle around the Earth, and it takes a month to do it. And so it's a coincidence that the female menstrual cycle is also about 28 days long. I say about because it does vary. Some people have a shorter menstrual cycle, 20 days. Some have a longer one, up to 35 days. Some even longer. Some have very irregular periods. But the average is about a month. And therefore, people say, oh, there must be some kind of association between the moon cycle and the menstrual cycle. There probably isn't. There are some studies that have suggested that there are behavioral changes that occur with the moon cycle, although whether that's real or not, I mean, it's still open to interpretation. There was one quite good sleep study that seemed to suggest around the time of full moon that people did subtly change the time they took to go to sleep and the amount of restful sleep they got, but that was sleep, not the menstrual cycle. So I don't think there's any evidence really linking the lunar cycle with the menstrual cycle other than this coincidental rough approximation of the length.
Okay, another one says, why does the lizard's tail keep shaking when cut from its body? Is the lizard's heart in the tail?
No, I mean, this is an important question. It's a bit like if you chop the head off a chicken, then the chicken can sometimes continue to run around. And the reason is that in simpler animals and in certain tissues, when you disconnect them from the control center in the nervous system, they don't suddenly die. The tissue remains viable for a little while, even though the blood has stopped flowing, and there might be no direct neurological control coming in. But in the absence of any nerve impulses coming in to tell the tail not to do something, then the muscles and the nerves that are already in the tail may well themselves decide to do their own thing. because there are as many messages coming to our body telling our muscles not to do things as there are messages telling our muscles to do things. And so as a result of this, if you take away the don't do anything signals, then some tissues may then start to develop autonomous activity. And that's probably what's happening. As you sever the tail, you're actually leading to sort of bizarre kind of bursts of nerve activity that are just spontaneous, that will then trigger the muscles to contract and make the tail move. And that's probably what's going on.
Dr. Chris Smith, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you so much for answering all of our science-related questions till we are together again on Monday.
Relebogile is on X at Relebogile M.
Thank you so much for joining us on 702 Afternoons. All conversations are podcast, primemediaplus.com, or download the Prime Media Plus app, and you can catch up on lots of different content, not just conversations. There's competitions, there's digital content you can watch and enjoy. And then, of course, we've got Thabo Sholem-Mashal standing in for John Perlman hosting 702 Drive. That will be coming up now from 3 to 6 p.m. If there are things that you want to talk to 702 Afternoons about while we're off air, 702 Afternoons at 702.co.za is the email you can use. Thanks for joining us. It's 3 o'clock.
This is EWN.
Well, it's a cat and mouse game at Madlanga Commission as Matlala dodges questions and March and March demonstrates near the SADC summit in Durban. Good afternoon, I'm Bali Dlamini. The legal team of alleged crime boss Vusimuzikat Matlala is expected to submit a supplementary affidavit to the Madlanga Commission. This is expected to contain more details on his responses to allegations against him. Matlala is appearing before the commission today, testifying about allegations that he tried to infiltrate law enforcement agencies. But Matlala has been refusing to answer questions linked to his tender fraud trial, raising concerns about self-incrimination when asked about his 2025 meeting with General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi earlier, his alleged donation of impalas to Shadrack Sibiya and his loan from Suleiman Karim. He refused to answer.
The loan agreement referred to herein is part of an ongoing criminal matter, and as such, I'm unable to respond to the question posed on the paragraph under reply. I'm of the view that I may incriminate myself by answering questions related to this loan agreement, as I believe it forms part of the Medicaid criminal matter which is pending before court.
While evidence leaders expressed frustration over his silence on the stand.
Chair, with respect, I think, if I may, this fear of self-incrimination has got limits in law and in life. The question is simple. Were you induced or threatened to give false information? That's all. It's not whether you did give false information, because only then does the issue of perjury arise.
The Madlanga Commission has been considering now this afternoon a postponement date for Matlala's testimony as his legal team prepares that supplementary affidavit. Members of Parliament's ad hoc committee probing allegations of police corruption have not agreed on whether or not suspended Police Minister Senzo Mchunu was influenced by external forces. The committee has been considering more party submissions today. These include how Mchunu was allegedly influenced in his decision to order the disbandment of the Political Killings Task Team in 2024. Members are also not agreeing that the minister on special leave instructed his chief of staff to secretly record a conversation with KZN Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi. Babalondenze reports.
The committee today continued its consideration of its latest draft report, which has seen several amendments and submissions from political parties. Today's evidence focused on Minister Senzo Mchunu and what should be included in the report about his decision to disband the PKTT. MK Party MP and committee member Vusi Shongwe submitted that the report should make it clear that Mchunu was influenced.
It's clear that it says external forces like the Haas and Mokotsi, and it is supported by the annexures that Honorable Mchunu submitted.
But ANC Chief Whip Mdumiseni Nduli objected to the assertion.
Because it's a very strong assertion that he has been influenced.
Nduli says Mchunu, in his consideration, looked at different interventions coming from interested parties, as well as reports from his own department. Babalo Ndenza, Eyewitness News.
Anti-illegal migration group March and March is demonstrating in Durban today near the venue where the SADC summit is taking place. The group says the demonstration is targeted at some of the SADC leaders, which it blames for what it calls South Africa's illegal immigration crisis. Heads of state and senior government officials from 16 countries are gathered at the Nkosi Albert Luthuli Convention Centre for the 46th Ordinary Summit of the Southern African Development Community. Tabiso Goba reports.
The recent anti-illegal immigration protests in South Africa have been discussed at the SADC summits. Some countries say they were hurt with how their citizens are being treated in South Africa, while President Cyril Ramaphosa offered his apology, saying the SA government was ashamed of the recent events around the issue. However, March and March, the group behind the anti-illegal immigration demonstrations, says it's offering no apologies. About 200 of its members have been marching through the streets of Durban. Many are carrying placards written, "Come fetch your people," which the group says is a message to some SADC leaders whose citizens are currently in South Africa without proper papers. Tabiso Goba, Eyewitness News, Durban.
And in Pakistan, 258 foreign nationals have been arrested during a raid at an alleged scam call center in the capital, Islamabad. Those detained include 170 people from Vietnam, as well as nationals from Malaysia and other Asian countries. According to authorities, they came to Pakistan on tourist visas and were not allowed to conduct any business. A similar raid took place in 2025 with 149 people, including 71 foreign nationals who were mostly Chinese, arrested on allegations of involvement in investment fraud. While gold is trading at $4,403.21 an ounce, the rand is at 16.13 to the dollar, 21.93 to the pound, 18.73 to the euro,